On January 14, 1945, deep inside the snow-choked forests of eastern France, a lone American anti-tank gunner made a decision so reckless and brilliant that it would become one of the most daring ambushes of the entire war. As 20 German Panzers rolled past his concealed position, their engines roaring like a steel avalanche, he did the unthinkable and held his fire. Every soldier around him expected a suicidal stand, but he was waiting for the only advantage that mattered: their blind spot. What happened next would rewrite the rules of ambush tactics and leave an entire panzer column burning behind him. This is the story of the gunner who used delayed engagement to turn certain death into a perfect kill zone. The gunner, Corporal James Halderman of the 44th Infantry Division, had been stationed on a narrow woodland road the Germans desperately needed for retreat. His orders were simple but nearly impossible: delay the panzer advance long enough for American armor to reposition. Halderman manned a 57mm M1 anti-tank gun, a weapon considered underpowered against late-war German tanks. Most crews fired as soon as they saw enemy armor, hoping to disable at least one tank before being overrun. But Halderman had studied German retreat patterns and knew these tanks were low on fuel and running blind under pressure. He also knew that firing early would expose his position instantly, turning him into a fixed target against overwhelming steel. The terrain was heavily forested, with a narrow road that allowed the German column to pass in single file. Halderman had dug his gun into a depression behind a fallen tree, giving him a perfect angle on the German rear. His small three-man crew whispered nervously, asking whether they should prepare to fire at the lead tank. Halderman instead ordered them to freeze, breathe quietly, and let the enemy roll past like ghosts in the fog. The first tank thundered by, its tracks crushing snow and ice inches from their concealed barrel. Then a second, then a third, until the earth shook with the weight of the entire panzer column crawling forward. Every instinct screamed at them to fire, but Halderman refused to break. He understood that firing at the front would only stall the column and draw fire from 20 turrets at once. His gamble was to strike them where they were weakest, from behind, where armor was thinnest and reaction was slowest. Halderman's strategy wasn't luck, but came from observing months of German tactical behavior during their withdrawal from the Western Front. He had seen columns panic when attacked from behind, often abandoning damaged tanks in the road and scattering in confusion. He noted that German crews were trained to react instantly to frontal threats, but were notoriously sluggish in turret rotation when ambushed from the rear. He understood that the back of a panzer, especially the engine block, was vulnerable even to lighter anti-tank guns. Historical reports from Allied intelligence confirmed that German forces often overlooked rear security during rapid retreats. Halderman studied these patterns while serving as an assistant to an artillery spotter months earlier. He learned that delayed engagement in narrow terrain created a funnel of fire, trapping armor with no ability to maneuver. The dense winter forest amplified this effect, turning the road into a metal corridor with no chance for escape. He also knew German units operated under strict retreat schedules, meaning they would not stop to investigate minor noises or shadows. Halderman saw an opportunity few would dare to act upon: let the enemy pass entirely, then annihilate them at their most helpless moment. This tactic had precedent in early war Soviet ambush manuals, though rarely executed with such precision. The pattern was clear: if he allowed all 20 tanks to pass unchallenged, he would own the battlefield behind them. His plan relied on patience, timing, and the nerve to stay silent while death rolled inches from his face. Most commanders would never authorize such a risk, but Halderman wasn't waiting for permission. He believed that the fate of his unit depended on this one forbidden idea: don't fire first, fire last. As the 20th and final panzer rumbled past, Halderman finally whispered two words that shattered the silence. "Load he." Instead of armor-piercing shells, he chose high-explosive rounds to ignite the exposed engine compartments. His loader, shaking from the cold and fear, slammed the round home and locked the breech with a metallic snap. Halderman swung the gun toward the last tank in the line, its engine vents glowing red from overuse. With a single blast, the round punched through the vents and detonated inside, instantly engulfing the tank in flames. The explosion created a wall of fire that blocked the rest of the column from reversing. Before the Germans could react, Halderman ordered a second shot, then a third, igniting tank after tank in rapid succession. German commanders scrambled on their radios, screaming conflicting orders as their trapped crews bailed into the frozen road. The forest echoed with blasts as Halderman's crew reloaded with mechanical precision. Turrets rotated awkwardly, unable to find the hidden gun behind them. Machine gun fire sprayed wildly into the trees, hitting nothing but branches and snow. Halderman kept firing, each shot landing with deadly accuracy into the rear armor of the immobilized column. Flames climbed the trees, smoke mixed with fog, and the once threatening panzer column became a graveyard of burning steel. In less than 8 minutes, Halderman had destroyed nearly every tank in the line, forcing the remaining crewmen to flee on foot. What began as a silent gamble had turned into one of the most devastating ambushes executed by a single anti-tank gun crew. After the battle, Halderman faced scrutiny from higher command for deviating from standard engagement protocols. Military regulations emphasized immediate engagement of enemy armor, not delayed ambushes behind enemy lines. However, battlefield reports made it impossible to ignore the effectiveness of his unorthodox tactic. Commanders realized that Halderman had single-handedly prevented a German breakout that could have cost American forces hundreds of casualties. His delayed engagement strategy was quietly added to internal training discussions, though never publicly credited. Historians later recognized his ambush as one of the most efficient small-unit anti-armor actions of the Western Front. Halderman himself refused praise, insisting he simply trusted patience when others trusted firepower. His story became a whispered example among infantrymen of how courage sometimes means waiting, not shooting. The wrecked panzer column remained in that forest for months, a testament to one man's nerve. And in the end, Halderman proved that victory often belongs not to the first to fire, but to the last to be discovered.